How's it going, YouTube? This is Krazie316. Just got back from the family reunion over the weekend. A lot shorter than usual and less people, but when we have it back down here again, maybe it'll be more. So, I'm going to make a video in response to Mike Libertarian, and for the last time, because for obvious reasons you will see when I make the video. So, after much whining and quote twisting, when he finally gets to starting with the video, the first point this cat makes is in his video that the theory of evolution is the real deal, while the Bible is a fairy tale that hasn't been proven.
For someone who will spend much of his two-part video accusing me of cultist twisting and misquotes, you're not off to a good start when you say that I asserted that evolution is real and the Bible is fairy tales, when what I actually said was, if you wanted to have a secular debate, you would need to play by secular rules, and when discussing biology, the accepted secular understanding of the subject heavily involves the theory of evolution. You are free to reject the theory of evolution if you want, but you cannot presently do so and have a respectable secular position.
In lieu of the fact of several archaeological discoveries fulfilled prophecies that are too complex to bullcrap and too big, etc., etc.
Next, you imply that evolution is not the case, and that the Bible is supported by archaeological findings which support alleged fulfilled prophecy. Never mind myself, the entire scientific community would be highly interested in such evidence and would like to know what your sources are. Unfortunately, you do not provide any.
I have a quick question. Why do we call it 2009 AD? Who was it that died that we're keeping the timeline record after his death again? Was that Christ? No, it couldn't have been.
Why do we use AD? Because in the Dark Ages, when the Catholic Church was the ultimate authority in the land of Christendom, known today as Europe, a solitary monk named Dionysius Exiguus in 525 took the Julian calendar and attempted to calculate a new year zero which would be used in the Christian world. And it would start at the supposed birth of their alleged spiritual savior. The fact that we still use AD today reflects not the truth of Jesus' existence, but the influence of his believers on the last 1900 years. No power in European history since then was ever able to enforce a new year zero on everyone else, as the Catholic Church was able to in the 6th century. Furthermore, your entire point about AD is a red herring.
Anyway, evolutionists will be quick to try and separate abiogenesis from evolution because the fact that abiogenesis is improvable renders evolution useless.
The reason the theory of evolution and the theory of abiogenesis are separated is because they are separate theories which each seeks to explain a different set of observations. Namely, evolution explains the diversity of life, while abiogenesis is a relatively young theory which has a possible explanation for how non-living matter could have become living matter. Far from being interwoven, they explain separate things, and one can stand without the other.
Because you need one to get to the other.
If they are both true, one did lead to the other, but the scientific theories themselves are separate, and one does not comment on the other. Like any typical creationist, you are confusing the theory of evolution with any religion that would be so arrogant as to claim to have all the answers for everything. In doing so, you are projecting your own flawed system of thought onto those around you.
This being off topic and strawman to the actual argument, let's dismantle this cat's video now.
So it appears you learned a few new words. You're trying to accuse me of logical fallacies by lumping them all together at once and throwing them at me at once, hoping something will stick. Nothing about the intro to the primary discussion, whether in your video or in my response, had anything to do with strawmen so far, and the only red herrings so far are all yours. I tried to address every single one of your points, even if they were red herrings, such as the latest question you made about AD in the calendar.
So first of all, he brings up the consent topic I spoke on and pretty much doesn't really get to a point because he's confused and doesn't get it. To that, I can't help you understand that an animal may not be able to consent through a signed contract, but they still consent through their actions.
This point is a misdirection. I understand quite well that animals can consent through their actions, but allow me to point out that it was you who said their instincts are overridden and their actions are driven by instinct, not choice. Choice is an important aspect of consent in any court of law. Also, it was you who said, we cannot know the minds of animals. Yet in your case against homosexuality from biology, you might as well be a storybook princess considering how well you claim to know their minds yourself. Better so than the qualified analysis of the scientific community.
So the next point he brings up is my percentage for studies done on animals in captivity. Most studies of so-called animal homosexuality are done on animals in captivity. For example, zoos and artificial habitats. Even in the wild, you defeat the purpose of the definition of natural, of existing outside of human intervention, whilst you're all in their territory.
I have no contention with the fact that many studies are done in captivity, even most. My problem was that you claimed 90 to 100% of studies are done in captivity as part of your attempt to discredit observations of homosexual behavior in other animals, and you failed to provide any evidence to support your claim.
So, next he tries to pick on my definition of natural as an incorrect definition and one that is a religious creationist would use, not knowing that the definition came straight from dictionary.com.
You have misquoted me. I did not say that your definition of nature was flatly wrong, only I implied that it was a definition highly preferred by creationists, and that any secular discussion will require a definition closer to the one I provided, which is the definition highly preferred by the secular and scientific communities. I also provided links to Wikipedia and freedictionary.com, both of which use wording like mine as definition number 1. Furthermore, no one definition for any word in the English language is set in stone. There is no single ultimate authority on English, such as the Académie Française for the French language. Dictionary.com is about as much an authority on English as freedictionary.com, Wikipedia, or Merriam-Webster, or anyone else for that matter.
It was just a pathetic move on his behalf, with a failed ad hominem attack against the religious as a whole and a poor excuse for a rebuttal.
Again, you misuse accusations of logical fallacies because you don't understand them. My point concerning the definition of nature was not in any way, shape, or form an ad hominem attack on you, and especially not on all Christians. I feel sorry for you. You're reaching out for any weapon you can get your hands on, and then desperately flailing it at me without any technique or understanding of the weapon itself, let alone how it should be used.
The next point he tries to make is that I only have 2 sources, and that they're not credible because they disagree with me. Well, I did have more than 2 sources. I just didn't know that I would have to post every last one of them for the lazy bastard.
When making positive claims, you are expected to produce positive evidence. Biological Exuberance and National Geographic were not positive evidence of your claims, and you did not cite anything else. I'm a lazy bastard because you expected me to do your research for you? That is a burden of proof fallacy. Of course you're expected to cite all of your sources, especially if you're going to make such hay and thump your chest over the 2 that you actually did cite in the discussions following your original video.
Let's get started. I have researched countless science articles and books referencing reasons for the so-called homosexual actions of animals and referencing things that have nothing to do with animal homosexuality.
Interesting. It sounds like you've done quite a lot of research, yet you still have not provided links or even names for most of this apparent wealth of source work you've done. Why do you persist in keeping them from public scrutiny if you really do have them?
My sources are legit because one explains we don't know what's going on internally, whilst the other gives us reasons why these actions are done. For example, the flower beetle dump sperm on another male to make fresh sperm for females. In this, we can see no penetration was had and the beetle was preparing for a female. Now, someone with some common sense, please explain to this cat what kind of homosexual male prepares himself for a female by ejaculating on another male to make fresh sperm for the female and not the male. If anything, if this were to be classified as a sexuality, it would be bisexuality, not homosexuality. Even in this case, there's no penetration. So, this cat uses failed logic once again.
So the core of your argument has apparently changed. Rather than claim that homosexuality does not exist in the animal kingdom, you've made ever so slight a shift to that of strict homosexuality is not the case in the specific examples you provided, and you then make an unqualified inference that homosexuality is therefore not observed in any case.